This is why you shouldn't skip Entelechia and ignore what anyone is saying. Maybe. And yes, I know I'm late again because I was too busy sucking dick. Hi, sorry for shouting earlier. Now, before starting, I'm already sure that 200% of you are already planning to skip this banner. For good reasons. But I'm going to try and convince you anyways. Entelechia is a Reaper guard. Reapers, as we all know, has a silly range. Every attack landed heals them by 50, they cannot be healed, AoE attacks have no limits, and has very average all-around stats. If you're not convinced already, then at least hear me out on skipping this shit. Talent 1. Attack steal 75 max HP from the target, caps at 1350, and deal 200 arts damage every second for 5 seconds. For a Reaper, this talent is pretty valuable. If she can, stealing over 1000 HP will not only make her sustain much more, can't guarantee if she can survive a second hit, but that depends on the hit rate obviously, but it also just means that she has more HP to work with. But in most situations, if she's not able to out-heal anything with no bard healing support, then this is practically useless. And it's also practically useless if she can out-heal anything at all. Then we have the DOT damage effect. Dealing 200 arts damage, this is good. For any stages that needs DOT damage, being able to basically inflict this onto anything that she touches. Though, only 5 ticks, and at that point, just bring Ethan, right? I'm kidding. I'm not even going to describe her second talent to you because I genuinely think this is probably the worst talent of all time. It's something similar to Blaze talent, a one-time use of healing. The only thing I can see from this that actually means anything is the physical damage resist. Even if the physical damage resist is a fantastic effect, it still needs her to be absolutely crippled first before even having the chance to resist. Not like she stays crippled since she heals 50% HP as soon as this happens, but also the resistance mean absolutely nothing for bosses. I guess in a way, it can be pretty good for dealing with a bunch of elite enemies. All in all, I think her talents are good. They aren't bad, but they're not like me ever finding a boy girlfriend good, because that's a whole different situation. Entelechia Skill 1 is just the basic Reaper Skill 1, the exact same except like 10% more attack. I mean, what else is there to say except to use it basically like the Pluma or Highmore S1. Now come on guys, put it down and let things happen. AFK skill. Now Skill 2 is something new. Activating her Skill 2 summons Blood Scythes on herself and another ground unit, slicing all enemies in its radius every 0.5 seconds, dealing 195% attack as physical damage. This is actually a pretty good skill. Clearing waves with this skill can be very effective, especially when it's basically infinite range, since she summons a Blood Scythe on another ally that's nowhere near her. But a few things I'd like to mention is that these scythes are summons, so it can snapshot and won't inherit any attack modifiers. Think of it like Reed's skill 2, but it does heal her. It doesn't last too long, but it doesn't take too long for it to come back either. And to be honest with you, this skill is definitely not too crazy or anything, except like clearing waves and global range. Skill 3 is very interesting. Upon activating Skill 3, her range extends by another 3 tiles, boosting her attack by 135% attack and 100 attack speed. She summons candles and only she can attack up to 3 enemies with the highest HP within a range. And upon attacking her candles, deal at least 35% attack damage every attack. Each candle inherits 60% of that target's current HP, and of course when attacked, the target also receives the same amount of damage. You heard me right. Each candle that she assigns to an enemy with the highest HP within a range inherits 60% of their current HP. Remember, current HP, not max HP. So it's always going to be this amount instead of this whole chunk. This means that if you use the candles when the boss is anywhere below 90% HP, you're stupid. It also does pretty much bypass any sort of resistance because the candles is the HP, and also if the boss is also not fat as fuck, because sometimes the skill doesn't last long enough for her to kill the candles entirely, and she does have to hit the candle a decent amount of times to make full value out of this skill, meaning that you'll either have to off-angle her, or find a way for her to not be hit by anything hard during all this. Because at the end of the day, she is still as squishy as any other Reaper guard, since, you know, they're primarily used for wave clearing. Speaking of this, it is pretty good that she does have a boss option in her arsenal. Skill 2, Skill 3, Skill 1. It's been almost 6 years, surely you have a La Pluma S1 Mastery 3. Unlike me, you're probably only going to use Skill 2 for what Reapers are made for, clearing waves. Her S2 is very good at clearing waves, can't really guarantee that you're going to use the backside of this scythe circle, but it is good that she can pretty much have a fast redeploy or anyone to clear any wave on the map that doesn't have wings. Now, the reason why I think Skill 3 should be raised is purely because of the basically true damage reason. For some simple bosses during the early to mid game, or even some endgame bosses, this skill can be very valuable. But for other bosses, you're probably going to use this skill for elite enemies. But other than that, you're probably going to use this skill for elite enemies that other operators are just far better at, even if they're not doing percentage damage. Higher number is higher number. And as I've said 30 seconds ago, it's been almost 6 years. You should have a La Pluma with her Skill 1 Mastery 3. If not, like me, do Skill 1. Finally, is she viable for endgame? No. Okay, maybe. Her skill 3 I can see being very useful for some IS bosses because of this percentage thing, making you not needing as much stat relics, so this is good if you're unlucky and can be very good for CCs where nothing fights back, and it just lets her hit them for free. I'm not gonna go too far in depth with this because I think we all know that she's not as great in endgame as the other upcoming, as some of the operators we have now. It's less conditional and more versatile. And for her skill 2, it's really tough for her to make this skill work in endgame just because that, well, the numbers are pretty low for a damage dealer. Not made for damage, of course, and struggles against enemies that have defense higher than 1000. But one thing I would say is that her S2 isn't too bad for wave clearing for some endgame content like some IS stages, but anything else just use the upcoming some already available operators. Should you pull Entelechia instead of saving for all the future characters? Yes, you should absolutely pull when it's February. Yes, if you have more money than me. Yes, if you like almost a complete circle. And no, I will be skipping her for these future characters.